If you have been in the Warhammer painting scene for any amount of times, you've most definitely heard the words of non-metallic metals before, and how good they look and how skilled of a painter you need to be to accomplish them. Well, today I want to show you a pretty easy way I've found to paint gold non-metallic metal. In this case, there are a bunch of different kinds of metals, and they all have their own unique way of painting them. But through the help of Redditors and asking ChatGPT what colors I should use, hopefully you'll be able to learn how to paint non-metallic metal like me by the end of this video. Now, first off are the colors that you're going to need to paint this formula. The paints I ended up using were bootstrap brown or oak brown, and then for the second color I use scrag brown, and then it's a 2-to-1 mix of scrag brown and ice yellow, a 1-to-2 mix of the same colors, and then I use a wash of flash gets yellow, and then a last highlight of ice yellow, and then an optional highlight of just any white that you want to use. So after you've completely primed your model black or whatever, I'd suggest just sticking to black. I'm just going to completely cover the model in that oak brown or bootstrap brown. It's really up to preference what color you want your darkest shadows to be. And I'm just going to completely cover the entire model with this brown. One mistake that I did make here is I actually didn't thin my paints. I know, the guy giving you a tutorial didn't thin his paints. So make sure you just thin your paints a little bit, so it takes 2, maybe 3 pass overs to get that nice smooth finish across the whole model. Next, we're going to take that scrag brown and we are going to paint almost everything. So whatever part you can see of the model, you're going to paint brown. If there's any crevices or you have to literally turn the model and look at it from the underside, you're going to leave that part the previous brown that we covered. So you can see here how I'm looking under the model, and every part that is super under, I leave that brown, but I paint almost everything that you can see if you look straight at the model, that scrag brown from before. After you finish painting your scrag brown, you're going to take a 2-to-1 mix of scrag brown and ice yellow, and you're just going to paint the majority of what you've painted before with this new mixture. And to blend or make the transition between the two colors a little smoother, I ended up just stippling where I wanted the transition to be. Now you can use a wash of the scrag brown and use it over where the transition to be to get an even smoother transition of colors, but I just ended up using the stippling motion because it takes less time, and I'm not entering this model into any sort of competition anytime soon, so I didn't really care all too much if my transitions weren't perfect. But you can see here again, I use that stippling motion where I want the layers to change in brightness. For smaller details, like his abs or just very not big and open spaces, like because his giant winged aquila is in the middle of his chest, you don't have to worry too much about transitions and stuff. The wash we're going to do later is going to make all those things blend in really well, considering how small they are. Now after that, you're gonna take a 2-to-1 mixture of ice yellow and that scrag brown, and you're just gonna do the exact same thing. Stippling where that transition of colors and highlights you want it to be, or you can use the previous color as a wash and use that to blend the two layers more together. Now at this point, you are wondering, this looks nothing like gold. This looks like you painted flesh. And this might actually be a little bit of a good flesh formula now that I'm thinking about it. But in order for us to get that nice golden hue, like I've done with the legs and like I've done with the jetpack, we're gonna have to use a wash of that Flash Gets Yellow. So just take that Flash Gets Yellow and thin it down with like 2 or 3 drops of water or what is it called? Substrate? Something watery. Thin it down and you're just gonna go ham on the entire model. For the dark browns and the shadows, you can wash over it. It doesn't really change all too much how the model looks, and it will make the dark browns kind of look like a mid-tone, so you're gonna kind of get rid of your shadows. So I would avoid using this wash over your dark browns. Now, for the brighter highlights like the ice yellows and the whites, we have to learn something about reflective and main highlights. So imagine we had a big circle here. So say the light is coming from maybe this angle. This side of the circle is going to have a brighter, wider highlight, and then there will be a reflective highlight down on the opposite side of where the main highlight is, and it's not as bright. Now this can take shapes in circles, this can be in rectangles, this can be in cylinders. There's so many different shapes that you should probably go learn on your own time. It would take too much time to teach you all the different ways to do these reflective and main highlights, and not to mention, I don't know. Sorry, you thought I fucking knew everything? No, I don't know how to do all the different shapes. But here on the leg, I can show you a few examples. So here on his knee, we have that circular sphere shape. We have a brighter highlight near the top, and then a reflective, dimmer highlight near the bottom. And then same thing for the calf. It is a more of a circular shape, brighter highlight on the top, darker, dimmer, reflective highlight on the bottom. And then here's an example of kind of a cylinder or a rectangular shape, just one long line and then a shorter, smaller line. So make sure you take these into account. They do help a lot with how your model looks, because the brightest highlights matter the most when it comes to selling this golden effect, or just any non-metallic metal effect. The brightest highlights really do 50% of the work. Everything else, all the 500 different layers, did half of the work, and then this 1 or 2 layers will do the other half of the work for you. After you finish your wash, you're just gonna take that ice yellow and you're gonna put it everywhere where you think the light is coming from or where you just want your brightest points to be. Make sure you edge highlight here. Make sure you don't accidentally go in the shadowy parts, the oak brown, bootstrap brown, dark brown, whatever it is. And then we're going to then cover that again with a wash of the Flash Gets Yellow, and this will make the highlight darker. And this, you need to especially do this for your reflective, not as bright highlights. And then we will go back over it again with ice yellow, and then you can do an optional super bright highlight of just pure white. It's optional. It does make a little bit of a difference if you know it's there, but if you gave me two models, one used the white highlight, one didn't, you would barely be able to notice the difference. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Oh my god, this video took forever to make. Not as long as the last one, but it did take a while. You're probably curious what your model should look like, so here you go. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how the model actually came out looking. If you're wondering why the legs and the jump pack were already painted like before I started doing the actual tutorial, well, it's because I was learning or just really honing in how to get this recipe done well. So shout out to jaded_doors on Reddit for helping me out with highlight placements. Without them, my formula would have looked really bad. It just looked like a yellow dude with some brown pieces on him. And then I did the jump pack just to make sure that I can do this recipe consistently. If you're wondering how I painted the wings, I actually followed a really good tutorial from another painter called Mini Painter Meg. She made an excellent tutorial. Way better than my fucking tutorials. I don't know why you came here. You saw all the hundreds of thousands of non-metallic tutorials on YouTube, and you saw mine, you're like, that's the one. That's the one I need to watch. But if you learned anything from watching this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, don't. I'm sorry, I failed you. But if you have any critiques, genuinely, leave them in the comments. I'll try to fix them in future videos, or I'll keep on getting better at this. Yeah, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully you'll come back. If you don't, I'll kill myself. I'll do it.